Hello, this is the sugarcane rainfall outlook for central Queensland, updated on the 27th of April 2023. This outlook will be covering areas including Proserpine, Mackay and Plain Creek, first looking at recent conditions and then the rainfall outlook for the coming fortnight and then the next 6 months out to October. On the next slide, on the right hand side, there is a map here showing central Queensland sugarcane growing areas. On the right, rainfall totals for the month of April up to the 25th. As you can see, the highest was offshore at Hamilton Island, 202mm, but on the coast, Mackay and Proserpine both had rainfall below the average for the month of April. We did see below average rainfall generally across the central Queensland area. On the next slide, we're looking at the chance of exceeding median rainfall in May on the left-hand side, and then June to August on the right. In May, there's a low to very low chance of exceeding median rainfall, so it is looking like drier than average conditions. On the right hand side, we see a low chance of exceeding median rainfall, and as we can see, there are fewer dark brown shades indicating that the chance of seeing below average rainfall isn't quite as high compared to May. On the next slide, we see model accuracy based on past performance at that time of year. So what you're seeing here is generally what percentage of time the model does get it right for each of these periods. In May, for median rainfall forecast, the model gets it typically correct 55 to 65% of the time for central Queensland, but higher scores the further south that you do go. In June to August, similarly, 55 to 65% accuracy for median rainfall forecasts. On the next slide, we're looking at rainfall for the next 2 weeks, and particularly the chance of exceeding 25mm each week for the next 2 weeks. As you can see, it's a pretty low chance, generally less than 25% chance of exceeding 25mm each week. This is due to the southeasterly trade flow dominating. So for those properties facing the southeast, we might see some of those showers, as you can see here, but generally otherwise looking like a low chance and looking like a dry fortnight ahead. On the next slide, looking at the rainfall outlook for the rest of May. On the left-hand side, the 50% forecast chance versus the historical median. And as you can see, just by eyeballing the two maps, it is generally looking like a drier forecast compared to the median. So just comparing the colours on the two maps, but particularly as we see, particularly at Townsville Coast, we do see quite a large contrast indicating drier than the historical median, but less of that strong kind of below median signal for the central Queensland growing areas. And for May, also looking at the 75% high chance on the left-hand side and the 25% low chance on the right-hand side. And the best way to interpret this is that it is showing something similar to the BOM rainfall app rainfall ranges, generally showing the 50% rainfall range what we're expecting. So for example, for Proserpine, we can say that for the month of May, we're generally expecting between kind of that 10 to 25mm as a high chance and a lower chance of seeing more than 50mm or so. On the next slide, we see June, and left the 50% forecast chance again versus the historical median. And the 50% forecast chance is drier than the historical median for central Queensland growing areas, just by eyeballing the differences between these two maps here. Next slide, again, looking at the 75% chance to the 25% chance, and for somewhere like Proserpine, it is looking to be in that range of about 5mm up to potentially 25mm. And then we now look at the 3-month period from June to August. On the left-hand side, the forecast chance versus the historical median. And generally, as similar to the other couple of slides, it is looking drier than the historical median for central Queensland growing areas, just by comparing the colours on the two maps here. And again, look at the 75% chance on the left-hand side and the low 25% chance on the right-hand side for June to August. On the next slide, we fast forward to spring, and at this stage, it's a little bit too early to give a confident forecast this far out, but further updates before that will provide more information as we go. So these maps you're seeing here show the historical medians based on data from 1991 to 2020. And based on some of the historical models, so international models, they are indicating that it is likely to be normal to drier than median from September. Finally, short-term weather watch points, and what you're seeing here are the 24-hour rainfall totals to 10 p.m. each day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of this week. And in particular, we're monitoring to the south a cold front and trough moving through on the Saturday, but not expected to have too much of an impact on central Queensland growing areas. So other than just that southeasterly trade flow shower, not expecting too much in the way of rainfall. And heading into the first week of May, it is looking much drier. But as always, check the latest forecast and warnings on the Bureau's website or on the BOM Weather app. That's it for this outlook. Be sure to send your feedback to agriculture@bom.gov.au, and we'll see you for the next update. Thanks for listening.